Hey, welcome to another episode of the Real Life Podcast. And I'm your host, Dale Satram, and I'm here with my super cool, amazing co-host, Katie Jones.
Hi, guys. Good to be here.
It is good to be here, and you know what?
Happy Valentine's Day.
Oh, shoot,
Yeah.
I forgot.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I still got time.
Oh, yeah.
I still got time.
When we're recording this, it's not yet, so you got time to.
You're right. But you know, after 37 years of marital bliss.
That's right. That's right.
37 years.
Power couple. You
Darn right. So
Love it.
some of the expectations on the Valentine's Day, or you usually look at the calendar and going, Valentine's Day is usually never at a very good time to go do something. So
Right.
So we usually pick another day or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what you do.
So you guys do celebrate Valentine's?
Well, yeah. We talk every year. It can be unique. We talk about it in advance.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about it in advance, gentlemen, so you know what the expectations are. All right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Get out in front of it. Don't just wait till the last minute. And lady, give your guys a little bit of a break, okay? Because they're trying. All right? They're trying, and it's like, well, you should just know what I want. Well, we kind of suck at the whole mind reading thing. Yeah, I know.
That's ridiculous.
I know. Don't. So give them a little bit of break. If they're brave enough to come and talk to you and say, hey, baby, Valentine's Day is coming up, and can we talk about some expectations? And because they really want to love you, they do, and they want to make you happy. I mean, I've never met a guy who doesn't want to make his wife happy. They're trying. It's just sometimes we just kind of lack the how.
Sure.
That's all.
That makes sense.
So see the heart, not always our attempt that maybe didn't go so well.
Yeah, well, and every couple's different. It could be a team effort. You guys could decide on what you want to do together.
Well, yeah, sometimes it is.
I mean, I feel like me and Jared, I feel like the last couple of Valentines, I don't remember if we've gotten each other or anything. We just decide on, like, we're going to go on this date and spend time because it's not super important to us. But other couples, other women might love to get
Well, right, because,
everybody's
if gift giving is like your love language or something,
give me the experience.
Then
Give me, yep.
But you better get out in front of that so that he
Yes.
knows. Otherwise, he keeps trying to do something that doesn't click, and I mean that's frustration. So
Absolutely. Okay, Valentine's.
Okay.
So is it overrated or is it a good holiday?
Oh, really? We're gonna do this? Oh,
We'll
wow!
get into your guys' questions.
Wow!
That's the most important thing, but I gotta know. Honest
Whew.
opinion.
Well, that comes with some pressure here. All the ladies are leaning in right now, listening. What's he gonna say? Yeah, yeah. No pressure. I think that it can go either way.
Yeah.
It can go either way. It really depends. I think eventually we need to release ourselves from feeling this artificial pressure that comes with a lot of holidays. Mm-hmm. So that's one of them. And I think as couples grow in their ability to communicate better and better, this is one of the things they should try to figure out is for them, what does what does Valentine's Day look like, and what are the needs, and what are the desires, and what are your hopes? And I mean, come on. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, I think it can go south on people. Yeah. And so
I will give this little pointer out there for the gentleman. I think most women will be much more likely to be, inclined to forgive. Oh, you forgot Valentine's? If throughout the year you're really good at filling the cup in other ways. Maybe anniversaries and birthdays and Valentine's. Sure. Yes, you got to work to remember them, sure. But if you're good at sending a text saying, hey, thank you so much for what you did, or I appreciate you, I love you, or however she likes to receive love throughout the year, you're, consistent. If Valentine's isn't just a one-day thing, it's like, if you are good about that stuff outside of that, then I don't think
you might get a little more grace, right?
Get more grace is what I'm trying to say. So just a little tip.
So what you're saying is don't suck at both.
Yeah. my husband would call me a love language glutton. He's like, I don't know which one you want. You want all of them.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's funny right there. Wow, you're high maintenance.
Woo! You know what? Queens.
Okay. Okay. No pressure on him.
Moving on from us.
Oh, yeah.
We will get into your guys' questions, and these are relationship questions, so we're excited to get into these. They're perfect for this Valentine's week. So, first question.
Let's do it.
Dating and marriage after divorce. I've been divorced for 3 years after a long, lonely marriage. I am in a relationship with a Christian man, and things are going well. We are both growing in Christ. My question is multi-layered because of our age and situation. What do you think about couples living together prior to marriage? As everyone knows these days, expenses are higher than ever, and the cost of living alone is sometimes impossible. The deeper question is based on finances as well. I'm considering not being legally married again because of Social Security and other finances attached to my ex, and legally being single, financial aid for kids in college. How does God look at a relationship that is promised and committed before Him, but not legal on paper because of how our government is set up? The question has been weighing heavy on my heart, so thank you for helping me. Great question. And on side note, we should definitely have like a divorce episode at some point, because I think that's would be a great one. We know great people that have been divorced and have great marriages now. But anyways, what are your thoughts? This is a great question.
It is a good question, and it's complex. It's complicated. I know that it would be really easy for listeners. Well, before I say this, first of all, these questions that we're going to be talking about today, they're not just relationship questions, they're heart questions. Not just hard, heart. They're heart. You know, so there's a lot of emotion with these couple questions that we're going to be talking about. So I just want to get out in front. I hear that. I see that. I hear your heart behind the question. These are not easy questions. So, Katie, I have actually had conversations with a few people over the years in regards to very, very similar situations where you know, their spouses either they're divorced, their spouses have died, they move into a new relationship. Every time I've had a conversation like this, it has always been with, I'm going to say, somebody who is older. Okay, and older, what does that mean? I'm going to throw out an age here, but I'm not stuck to it, okay? Because
we all know age is mental.
Yeah, darn right it is.
Absolutely,
I mean, yeah. But you know, these are people that are 60s, 70s, 80s. Okay, you're not developing your life. Your life has already been defined, and so getting married legally, you know, sometimes there are a lot of really interesting dynamics, not just with the government and retirement and you know, there's insurance. There's also children with inheritance. I mean, there's a lot of dynamics in play. Now,
this person sounds like younger than that.
They
Kids
do.
In college is what
yeah,
they're
I
looking
know.
to the
So
future.
I have no idea the age category here. So some people listening to this that are very, very black and white, you know, you're going to say, Pastor Dale, the Bible says it's wrong. You know, if you live together before you're married, it's wrong. Well, that's correct. Okay, that's correct. I mean, you're not wrong in saying that. But what about, can a person be married before God and not have legal paperwork and all that kind of stuff? If a person was younger and they asked me that question, when I say younger, I don't have an age here, okay? I would never counsel them to do this. Ever, 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 ever. Don't do it. Because you're at the front end of building your life and you need guarantees to each other and you need to be in the harness together and it's, you know, till death us do part and you need to do that. All right? If you always got a back door that you have created, eventually life will get hard enough and you'll take it. So don't leave any back doors. Now, I don't understand all of the dynamics of this situation, so it's difficult because if they were here, I'd be asking a lot of questions. So, but there's been several situations where I have met with, again, people that are much older. They find love at the end of their life. And so this was actually even fairly recent. So here's what I told him. I says, yes, I'll do your wedding, and you'll be married before God because, I mean, the government didn't create marriage, God did. So you go back to that. But I also said this. I said, listen, if something like this happens, there has to be a church or a group of people that holds you accountable to be married. Because you're not legally married, so you don't have to act like it. And so if this person doesn't have a church, if this person doesn't do it with the leadership's permission, and as I told this person, I says, we will hold you accountable to be married and act like you're married. And if you ever walk away from your wife, because I was friends with this guy, I says, I will come after you. And okay, because you're
Nobody
getting
wants
married.
that.
No, you don't.
Nope.
You're getting married before God, and I need you to make sure that you take this as serious, whether you got a piece of paper that says you're married or not. Now, I understand all the ramifications behind your choice, but you are married before the eyes of God, which actually holds more weight than the state of Oregon. Okay, so I think you can do this. I don't think it's the norm. I think it should always be the exception. I think every situation is unique in and of itself, and I usually tend to reserve conversations like this for people that are older, and would never recommend it for somebody who is younger. And so, again, this might not be helping this person. I realize that once you have an established life, and you're later in life, to get married again with somebody else who has an established life, okay, and blending those two lives together legally with a piece of paper, it's complicated. It is, and I think that some people out there who want to be kind of judgmental, not that any of our listeners would be like that.
Of course
but,
not.
But we need to appreciate the complexity of blending older lives together, when the majority of your life is behind you rather than in front of you. That's complicated. I mean, it's complicated. You have children. Now, I can't tell you how many kids have been in my office talking about what their parents did later in life, and then they get married. They were expecting an inheritance, and then they get married, and they live for another 5 years, and I mean, it's complicated. So, well, it shouldn't matter. It does matter, okay? It does matter. All this stuff is, and so are you going to blow up relationships? Are you going to, again, you can be very, very black and white, or like this show does, we embrace tension. We embrace tension.
Don't get me started on an inheritance topic.
Oh.
Another episode.
Oh.
I got spicy feelings on that.
Woo, okay. Spicy feelings.
Spicy
oh,
feelings.
Now I get to interview you. Let's do it.
This is so off topic.
It is.
I will say I don't believe that inheritances are rights ever. I do not expect it. I feel like if my parents were to get remarried, now I'm not trying to sound judgmental. If my parents got remarried and let's say one of them passed, would I be disappointed? Of course. But to plan on an inheritance that isn't mine, I didn't earn it, I didn't work for it, I have really strong feelings about that. I've been like, maybe I'm a harsh person when it comes to that, but
you might be. Yeah, you are pretty harsh.
But I
Katie.
say don't count on it. You make your own plans. You should never be relying on your parents' money after they pass.
You're right. We're off topic. But,
I know.
But when we talk about inheritance, I think sometimes it's important for people to think about. Oh, we are way off topic. But
I know. Sorry. This is my fault.
There is something to be said about generational wealth being passed on from generation to generation. Poverty is a curse. Poverty is a curse. Scripture says, and Proverbs says that the godly leave an inheritance to their children's children. And so I think that sometimes, again, not expected, but there's something about what godly people do, recognizing that poverty is a curse. And so you actually accumulate wealth, yes, for yourself, but also for the generations behind you. You teach them how to deal with wealth, and you teach them how to live out of poverty. And so there is a larger...
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, but not entitlement. Entitlement in any area is
what
lame.
irritates me.
I agree.
But do I want to leave stuff for my kids? Of course.
Well, yeah, of course you do.
On it? Absolutely.
Right. So.
But anyways,
side
note,
I get it.
not important.
That was a side note.
Yeah.
So I know I didn't answer this person's question. Okay, it's weighing heavily on your heart, and I'm sorry for that. I can't obviously be the person to tell you what to do. It is complex. It is complicated. And I would suggest that you do, if you choose to just get married and not do it legally, you do not do that in isolation. You make sure you do it with some type of a spiritual covering and people who will hold you accountable in your marriage and will treat you as married people and expect you to act like married people till death do you part. So if you don't do that, it feels like you're kind of maybe doing your own thing, and I'd be careful with that.
Can I ask too, while we're on the topic of the living together situation, what do you say when? Because this was an argument that weighed in my mind years ago. So it's almost like a double-edged sword because on the one hand, yes, you've got that paper, and this is I've heard a lot of people that live together, and I know people that are legally
It's just
married.
a piece of paper. Yeah, right.
So yes, where it's like people can still get divorced.
Yeah.
Isn't it more important that our hearts are in it? We know that like we are, in a loving relationship and we're committed. Like we know it. Nobody's backing out. You've got you've got those two people that have that mentality. Like, nope, it doesn't matter, married or not, we're together. Right. What do you say to those people that have that mindset? Why not get married if you have that mindset?
Oh yeah, I guess I would ask more questions. What's the whole thing with the piece of paper? What's your hang up? It wouldn't be a why question, it'd be a what question. What's going on? Where's that come from? Did you have bad experience growing up? Did you see your parents get divorced? Did you see what? Stuff like that comes from somewhere. I guess I would want to just understand a little bit more.
Yeah.
Instead of arguing the fact, because you're not going to do any good arguing the fact with someone. That's their conviction, or that's how they feel. That's what they believe. Now, at the same time, then you can get again kind of legalistic because the Bible says, well, you have to obey the laws of the land, and the law says that to be legally married, you have to have the piece of paper. And I'm like, yeah, okay, that's not going to motivate anybody to get married. So you might want to just keep that to yourself. Because I could look at you and go, well, I'm sure you don't obey all the laws of the land either. But you've never broken the law. You never speed. You never broke a speed limit. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
So yeah, you gotta be careful getting so self-righteous because somebody else will point out your hypocrisy with the same argument.
Yeah.
So it's
okay. No,
I would seek to understand.
I know people that have lived together. I think in Oregon, I don't know if it's the
They
law.
used to have common law. They got rid of it.
Oh, they did?
Yep.
Okay, well then they're not married then, but so I was just curious about that. Okay. Second question. What should you do when your pastoral figure suddenly abandons you?
This one hurt my heart a little bit when I read it.
I'm really
it's a little close to home here a little bit.
Your point of view.
Okay.
So, the person who I consider my pastor and friend ever since I was little seems to have pushed me away, and I don't quite understand why. He has been struggling with his health for a long time, and I feel like it's caused him to change and push people away. I would understand if he went about it differently, but the way he did was really hard to understand that I feel hurt and angry with him. I don't know if I should call him out about it, but I'm scared to do that. I don't want to damage our relationship more, but I feel like the way this situation went down wasn't godly.
Yeah, that one hurts a little bit. So, okay, I'm going to try to address this a little bit, maybe from the other side of the fence. Since this is a pastor, so I'm gonna try to help somebody have some understanding. Not excusing any behavior. Wasn't godly. I have no idea what that means, and whether it was or whether it wasn't, that's how you feel, and maybe it wasn't. So we're certainly not going to debate any of those factors. Your heart is hurt because it's like you lost a very significant relationship. That's a big deal. So I want to point out a couple of phrases that I heard, and in fact I'm reading it here. He's been struggling with health for a long time. So it says, and I feel like it's caused him to change and push people away. Well, that's probably true. I mean, so I think it's it's difficult. I think to put yourself in somebody else's situation if you have ongoing health issues. Who knows how how he's dealing with that? How it's impacted him emotionally and physically and spiritually. Pastors are. I always tell people they're normal people, and we bleed red like everybody else. But sometimes we think people put us on these pedestals like we're these super spiritual people, and that no matter what life throws at us, we are unaffected by it. And it's simply not true. And I think that we're impacted, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually by trauma and pain, just like anybody else. And sometimes being a pastor is incredibly lonely because of the expectations that people put on you. And I can't tell you how many times over the years when I have maybe shared a little bit of how I feel, and the Christian's response, Pastor, you shouldn't feel like that. I'm done sharing, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Because they're feelings, and feelings need to be processed and valued and all that kind of stuff. So who knows? I have no idea what the health issue is. I have no idea what's going on in this person's life. But if he's pulling away from people and relationships, I guarantee you he is hurting more than you have any idea to understand. So he's a hurting individual. He's not just a pastor, he's a hurting person. I am not making excuses for the behavior. I'm simply giving reasons for the behavior.
Right.
And it might give you a little bit more grace. So the other question is this: should I call him out on it? Interesting language. So my emphatic, loving answer to you is please no, please don't. Because then he will feel even more guilt, even more shame. He will be defensive. And so, but I'm not saying you shouldn't have a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I want to share with you a little bit how to have the conversation. So if you go to him and say, why have you pulled away? Why have you abandoned me? When we ask people questions, first of all, avoid why questions. Please avoid why questions. Why questions put people on the defensive. And so because if you come to me and you go, well, why are you so aloof? Why are you angry? Why are you this? All of a sudden, I'm in a defensive posture and I have to defend my emotions. I have to defend my actions. I have to defend myself. And so if you want to have a better conversation with this person that you obviously care about, I know that you're hurting, but so is he. And so go to him, and instead of why questions, Katie, ask what and how questions. When somebody asks me a what question, so they notice there's an emotional response, or there's sadness, or there's anger, or there's something going on, and somebody comes to me and they go, listen, hey, Petey, what's going on with your heart? Listen, it seems that it seems that you're frustrated. Now, all of a sudden I'm getting defensive, and they go, what's going on? What's going on inside? Oh, that's a little bit different, because now it feels like somebody actually wants to know what my heart, regardless of the behavior, regardless of the feelings, I don't have to defend anything. Somebody's actually gaining understanding. Tell me, listen, I know you've been sick for a long time in this situation. Tell me what that's doing to you. Tell me how that's affecting you. See, tell me, how, what. You reframe the question so that it makes it sound like you genuinely care about the person's heart instead of the behavior you're witnessing. When we go right after the why, people get defensive. Good. So ask what and how questions, because what you want to do is gain understanding. And so this is where you need to go back, and I encourage you to watch my first message on this series that we're on. All right, yep. Tools for relational success.
Yep.
And so the very first one was on communication. And so the goal of communication is not to talk, not to get your point across, but listen, the goal of communication is understanding. The Bible says that understanding is the fountain of life to him who has it. The more understanding, Katie, that you have of me and that I have of you, the more life we actually breathe in to the relationship. The less you understand someone, the less life you have in that relationship. There is something about humanity, how God designed us, that when you understand another human being at the heart level, not just the mind level, the soul level, when you start understanding the internal makings of another human being, you connect with them. That's how connection happens. It happens through understanding. That's why understanding is the fountain of life. You can take any relationship that's strained. I guarantee you it is a lack of understanding. It's not behavior. It is a lack of understanding. Once you gain understanding, life breathes back into it. I understand you, you understand me. That's when communication happens, is when we understand each other. It's not because we shared our opinion. So go back in there with the goal to understand, not to confront, not to change behavior, but your goal is to understand. And when people on the receiving end feel like somebody is coming in to understand them, that just might be the most loving thing you can do for them.
Yeah. I would add too, because this is so good, an overarching feel of believing the best in that person too. Like you just said, like saying something like you're usually this. What's going on? I feel like when someone believes the best in you, you have that desire to understand.
Yes, I call that assume positive intent. We just have this conviction in our relationships. We just assume positive intent. If you assume negative intent, then we have that lens in place and we interpret everything they do through the lens of negative intent. But if you have positive intent, listen, I may not understand everything that's going on. I don't understand how they're processing pain. I don't understand why they withdrew from me. But listen, I'm going to assume positive intent that there are other things going on that I just don't understand. So, and that helps.
Yeah.
Give you more grace.
Yeah.
For trying to walk through some of these things. So I don't know. I feel bad for this person, and I'm sorry. I know your heart's hurting, and because again, a spiritual figure, they've had influence in your life, and I know how I would feel if my spiritual mentor began to pull away from me, and it would break my heart.
Yeah.
So.
Great response, because as I'm like just mulling it over, multiple times says, I don't quite understand why. And then later it says, what he did was really hard to understand. Yeah,
so I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is.
So the fact that you're leaning into like trying to understand, I think that's perfect. So yeah, hopefully that conversation goes well. We're rooting for you.
Yeah, no kidding. If you have it, boy, send us a text or something and let us know how it went. And I mean, even if it doesn't go maybe the way you want, it's still, you know what? It still might settle your heart and your soul because, again, you went to go seek understanding. And who knows what the Lord will do with that. That could really break down some barriers and some wounding even in his life. Again, you just don't know what how they're processing pain, hurt, trauma. Everyone's unique. Everyone's unique in how they do that. So
well said. Okay, last question. Unless there was more. Don't let me cut you off.
No, go for it.
Okay, last.
Let's do it again. Another one. I forgot there was 3.
Yeah, last one, and then we'll wrap it up. Okay, guys, I've been in the archives. Just finished the 2-parter on values and tools for marriage. Great one. Go look it up. We've got Dale's lovely wife Lisa on. There's so much fun. So that one is way back. I don't even remember what
way back that was. So like last year.
Last year. It's been so helpful. I've heard it 10 times periodically.
That's a little extreme. It wasn't that good. No.
Hey, we're flattered. You guys should.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
This is awesome. Periodically to keep my marriage knife sharp, and then they put in parentheses, not as a weapon. Yeah. LOL. I'm a Gen X guy. My wife is a millennial. We have 2 kids, 7 and 4. Help me modify these tools to be used to communicate between the generation gap. I'm pretty direct, and sometimes as a personality type 5, I want to get to the bottom of all issues and can fall into confrontational behavior. How can we better understand effectively communicating as a family?
So, first of all,
it's a great question.
First of all, since you're already watching our content, go back in our archives, Sunday morning message. We just started this series here a few weeks ago on tools for successful relationships. The very first one was on communication. So if you were listening to my answers with the previous question, I'm going to bring that up again. So it sounds like, first of all, there's an age difference. To what degree, I don't know. It could be 10 years, it could be less, it could be more than that, because Gen X and millennials. I'm actually the first year of Gen X.
You're the first year of Gen X?
Yeah, my kids are millennials. So you have boomers,
Okay.
Gen X, millennials.
I'm considered millennial.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Well, yeah, you're younger than my kids.
Yeah, I'm
Good
like
grief.
the last year of millennial. I
So
think.
so you're the last year millennial,
Yep.
and I'm the first year of Gen X. So
Okay.
see the span?
I see what. Okay. Yep. Now I'm with it.
Yeah.
My math. Excuse it.
That's okay. That's okay. So there could be I don't know how much of an age difference. So part of it is that's not a hurdle that you can't get over. You can,
Right.
but I think that there's going to be even more of an importance of chasing understanding. You can't assume. Like, I mean, Lisa and I grew up together. We grew up in the same generation together. We went to the same high school together. We grew up in the same church together. I know, ad nauseum, right? Some of you are like, you kidding me? I mean, I've known her since she's 14 years old. There weren't a lot of surprises when we got married. We grew up with the same music. It came out at the same time. I mean, come on.
Besties for the rest.
It's all the same. But if you're coming from different generations, there's a lot of differences. I mean, there's just different. Good grief! I mean, the different movies you grew up with, the different music you grew up with, different experiences, all that. So, it's important to not assume. So you go back to that verse, my favorite verse in Proverbs 16:22. Understanding is the fountain of life. Understanding is the fountain of life. You've got to chase understanding. You just really have to make that a priority and not assume. And so, you know, you're always gaining understanding of the person that you're married to. It should be a priority for the rest of your life, because you will never understand everything. Why is that? Because we change, we morph, we grow, we develop, we go through pain, and we go through trauma, we go through loss, and all that stuff changes us.
Yeah.
And so you have to always be leaning into understanding. You know, when the spouse says, you've changed, they probably did, okay? And so instead of asking the why question, you lean in to gain understanding. And so you go back to, I don't know what the issues are.
I can tell this person is really into self-growth just by the way that so first of all, knows that he's a type, or he or she, type 5.
Yeah.
Want to get to all the bottom of the issues and can fall into confrontational behavior. So knows themselves very well. And how can we better understand effectively communicating as a family? Just a lot. I feel like there's a lot of desire for growth
there is
within that question, which is the first step.
There
This
is
great.
I think sometimes people rush into problem-solving mode too soon in a lot of relational dynamics without a deeper understanding. You should always go for understanding first and lean into the understanding, no matter how long it takes, and then your solutions will be better. If you go right, oh, I heard you once, oh, let's jump into a solution, your solutions will probably be superficial.
Yeah.
So again, understanding is the fountain of life, not your solution. Really, understanding is where the power is. Understanding is where somebody feels loved. Understanding is where life is. And that's also where the growth is. And so, you know, through presumption comes nothing but strife. Stop assuming you know. And so it also takes a little bit of humility to admit you don't know. And so you really have to be committed to I used a phrase a few weeks ago in this message. I said, you've got to be willing to mine the human heart. If you really love someone, be willing to take the time and the energy there's nuggets in there. There's gold. There's priceless things and Proverbs says that a person of understanding draws it out. Okay? And that's a skill set that you learn over time. And how you learn to do that is learn to ask the right questions.
Yeah.
Learn to be inquisitive. Always be inquisitive in your relationships. Always be inquisitive with your kids. And it doesn't mean that you're interrogating them. Why questions make somebody feel interrogated. I go back to tell me what's going on. Explain to me how that made you feel. See? How? What? That creates these open-ended questions where you get to see a person's heart, not them defending how they feel or their behavior.
Yeah,
So
that's good stuff. And the last piece that this person asked, understand effectively communicating as a family. So I don't know if this goes along, but it's just been on my radar lately, personally. Habits. What habits do you have as a family? Habits are what form you guys. It's what forms your communication. If your communication on an average looks like, dad and mom get home and they're just exhausted and they're scrolling on their phones, your communication as a family isn't going to be good. Do you have times where you set aside, you sit together for meals?
Right. Yeah. Perfect.
What are the habits that are so unintentionally or intentionally creating your family culture?
Yep.
So
that's going to change as your kids get older, but that's absolutely right. I mean, that's you have to create your unique family culture, what you do. So Katie, that's perfect. I mean, whether it's mealtime, I encourage people, they should have mealtime. You sit down and you sit around that table, you eyeball each other, you talk about your day, you laugh, you giggle, you make it fun. Okay, mealtime is important. I mean, we used to do also, game nights or family nights once a week. It changed as the kids got older because, they were in sports and cheerleading and all that kinds of stuff. So things, your culture has to morph too. It has to grow too. But you've got to create platforms of communication. Yes, there's all the informal stuff, but where are the platforms of communication? Do you put your kids to bed at night? They're younger.
Right.
Are you reading them Bible stories? Are you praying together? And I tell you, sometimes that's when the conversations happen, right? Because you're laid in bed, you're there with them, you're ready to pray.
How can I milk mom and dad?
I know, and you're
10
tired.
more minutes.
And you're tired. And all of a sudden they drop these profound questions on you. I know you're just trying to stay up.
I know.
But at the same time, it was a question. It was a pretty good question.
Right?
So it's all of that. So what's your culture? What are you building in?
Absolutely.
And then, you make sure that any question is respected. There's no out of bounds, we can't talk about that. I mean, I don't care what it is. You want to talk about sex? Let's talk about sex. My kids are like, Dad, enough. Okay, but you can talk about that. We can talk about boys and girls. We can talk about mom and dad. We can talk about, you bet. There's no taboo topic. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, and your kids, this 7 and 4 age is the time where you set the precedence for.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And since this person is a 5, and I know they probably like practical things, okay, how do I practically do it? Something that's helped me with my kids is asking really specific. I try not to ask, how was your day? I say, who'd you sit by at lunch? What was your favorite part? What was the hardest part? You get specific with kids.
Look at you. You're asking how and what questions.
Yeah.
Way to go.
Wonder where
and they're open-ended.
Yes.
They're not yes or no questions. See?
Fine.
Did you have fun today?
Yeah.
Yes, no. See?
Right.
No. Tell me about. See?
Yeah.
How was? I mean, see, those are great questions.
Yeah. So anyways,
good job, Mom.
Question. Fall short all the time, but we're working on it. So great questions, you guys. Anything else to add before we close it out?
Well, no, we better just stop right there. We'll just launch on a whole nother random.
I know.
Yes, we will.
We will be back though. So keep sending us your questions or topics or a video you want PD to react to. We are just super excited.
And I guarantee to react.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
Guaranteed reaction. Come hang out with us. We want you guys to feel like you're a part of this because you are. So we can only get the word out with your help. Please share. If you're on YouTube, subscribe.
Yeah, we can't be successful or influential without you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So help us out. Get some more people watching
You're
and be part of this.
RLP team.
Yeah.
So we will be back next week answering your questions.
Thanks for joining.
Yep.
Bye.